Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call to order the March 15th, 2023 meeting of the Council of City of Springdale. I would ask that you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Blessed Lord, who has borne out our griefs and carried our sorrows, satisfy us with your mercy and strengthen us with your might, that in all our sorrow and desolation we may find peace in your presence and comfort in your love, who is our hope and our strength, our very present help in trouble. Amen.
Amen. All right, Ms. McNear, you do roll call.
Mr. Anderson?
Present.
Mrs. Gantos? Here. Mr. Hawkins?
Present.
Mr. Jacobs?
Present.
Mr. Ramirez?
Present.
Mrs. Sullivan-Weisskopf?
Present.
Mr. Vanover?
Present. Council, we have the minutes of the March 1st, 2023 meeting before us this evening. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All right, all those approving the minutes as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are approved with 7 affirmative votes. All right, Mr. Jones, Mr. Yule, you want to lead in on the presentation?
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. I'll let Councilman Anderson, since he was gracious enough to coordinate this for everyone, to kind of do the basic intro, and we'll go from there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Schmoot comes to us after he came to present at OKI recently. He's the Director for Innovation and Strategic Programs at Metro Now. I'm really excited he got to come in and talk to us before the launch of Metro Now. We've talked about it a few times now on Council. I believe he's going to give us some information about both that program and other changes that have been coming on here in Springdale. And it's really, I can't even tell you how excited people are in the community with some of the changes. The feedback has been tremendous. So thank you for coming and for the rest of the community.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for the invitation. Certainly appreciate that. My name is Khalid Shamout, by the way. So Metro Now, before we get there, just to highlight a couple of things, reinventing Metro, since Metro Now is part of the reinventing Metro plan as well. And you know, to us, what reinventing Metro means is it's about economic development. It's about bringing businesses to our community and Hamilton County. It's about bringing jobs. It's providing access to more jobs and to higher paying jobs as well. Providing access to college, medical facilities, families, you know, visiting and so on, and improving the quality of life for all our residents here. So that's what really reinventing Metro Plan means to us at SORTA. To be able to do all of that, we need to improve our transit by making it faster, more convenient, having more amenities, shelters, benches, better connectivities, more coverage, and so on. So by achieving, you know, that goal of having better transit, we can achieve these goals of Metro Plan. So after the levy passed in 2020, we started, you know, working hard to implement these changes, whether it's on the fixed route or other new services, as you will see in a minute. And Springdale, you know, did receive some improvements as part of the overall improvements to our county. Since May 2021, we've increased frequencies on routes 20 and 78. We've created a new route just several months ago, which is Route 67, that connects Forest Park with Fields Hotel, currently running at about 35 to 40 minute frequency, and that was a big deal. Ridership on that is pretty healthy. In the next, you know, couple of years, more improvements are coming your way as well on the fixed route itself, such as more frequencies on 78. We would like to see that running every 15 minutes or better throughout the whole day. We're planning on having a former connection with the Butler County service as well, and providing 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service to Tri-County Mall or the Artisan Village, and we're already working with the developers there, thanks to Brian and Mayor Webster as well. We've been working with them for the past couple of years. And then just overall improved service on the express route and other services as well. So this is just a snapshot of what's coming your way over the next couple of years. We can do even more if we have more drivers. So if you know people who want to drive a bus, send them our way. The more drivers we have, the faster we can implement these. So, Metro Now. The previous slide talked about the big bus, the fixed route improvements, what we've done and what's coming and so on. But we also recognize that there are other type of services that would benefit different communities. And at one point, about 2.5 years ago, I think we had a meeting with Mayor Webster and his staff, including John, Brian, and others, and we were exploring different options to improve the mobility, in Springdale, and specifically to certain areas where there is a need for that and connection to medical facilities and other services as well. And one of the services we explored was providing some kind of like a mobility on demand type of service, microtransit, which right now we're calling it Metro Now. So about 2.5 years ago, we kind of started talking about that concept. And with the passage of the levy, we said, okay, now we got the funding, we have the will, let's go out and make it happen. So we did conduct a study in 2021 to determine which areas would benefit from mobility on demand, in addition to the Springdale area. And we identified 6 zones, which are on the map. And now we're in the implementation stage. So we're starting with 2 zones initially, the Springdale one, which is the blue polygon, and then the Mount Healthy Coleraine one, which is the orange zone on the left side. We're starting these 2 as a pilot, just to learn from that process and make any tweaks that we need to make, and then we'll implement the other 4 7 months later. And this is just phase 1 of mobility on demand, or what we're calling Metro Now. So for the Springdale area, it's that zone right there, which will provide connections to so many different vital destinations, whether it's medical facilities, grocery stores, businesses, workplaces, entertainment, and so on, in addition to connecting the customers to the fixed route. So any customer, basically the concept of the mobility, the Metro Now is you can request a trip, and I have a slide about that. You can request a trip anywhere inside that zone, be it going to Costco or to a bus station, bus stop, and then you can take the bus and continue your trip outside that zone to get to downtown or other places across the system. The service will run, at least during the pilot, weekdays 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., weekends 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And again, during the pilot, it's going to be a flat fare of $2. We're using the pilot just to get some information and learn from it. So we may have to adjust this span of service, make it start earlier and end later. The fare, just to make things simple for everybody, because this is a new concept, making flat $2 during the pilot. Down the road, as we do our analysis and so on, we may tie it to the passes or whatever other fare structure we may come up with. But it's not like Uber, so it's $2 within that zone. So you start and end your trip within that zone for a flat $2. To request your trip, it'll work like Uber. On your phone, you have an app. You go to your app. If you don't have a smartphone, you can call a number. Just like we have a number that you would call, and you can request your trip. But assuming you have an app on your phone, again, just like Uber, you go to the app and you say, I'm here, I want to go there, and the app will tell you, okay, a vehicle will come pick you up in 11 minutes or whatever that time is. And you just select that, and you can pay through the app as well. So this is already, we're working on this. That app is almost done. We expect to start testing it in the next 3 weeks. And We will have a call center. As I said, you can just call a landline to request your trips. That's how the vehicles will look. We try to make them, kind of exciting, interesting, appealing to young people as well as, any other age. But again, that's just the beginning of this program. And the vehicles have a wide door with a ramp. The actual vehicle is the picture on the right, with the door sliding, to the sides. But basically, I'm showing the other picture just to show the ramp, that there's the ramp. Each vehicle can hold 2 wheelchairs in addition to 8 seats. And you can pay on board the vehicle with cash or with using the app, scan it if you have like a wallet on your app. So they're all ADA compliant. And you can go to our website, and we have a page just for Metro Now, which you can also have it displayed in many other languages aside from English, including Spanish, German, Chinese, any other language. And we're also working with our vendor to have the app in other languages, such as at least English and Spanish as well. So that's on Metro Now, which concludes my presentation. But I'll be remiss if I don't also mention that we also have the Transit Infrastructure Fund, through which we give money to municipalities and townships for infrastructure improvements and so on. And Springdale took advantage of that year 1 for a project on East Kemper. We encourage you to take advantage of it this year. We opened the door now March 1st. Proposals are due May 31st. So, we'd love to see your proposals as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Mr. Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm excited about the idea. I think it's a great concept. Just for clarity's sake, so in terms of the fare, that it will be per person. So if Ms. Sullivan Wisecup and I say, hey, we want to go to Odie's Gold Star together, we're each paying a $2 fare versus we're
Ride sharing for $2.
right.
Correct. So it's $2 per person. However, realizing the need of this community and other communities, you can have 2 children for free under 40, don't quote me on this number, 42 inches or shorter, something like that. Then two children are free.
What if my wife is shorter than 42?
That's funny.
Nothing further.
Ms. Gant? Yeah, Ms. Gantes?
No, thank you, Mr. President. So how will you be advertising this? We have a large number of Spanish-speaking folks in our community, and I'm wondering how they're going to get the word, because this is such a cool opportunity.
Yes, thank you, Caroline, for this question. We've been having ads all over so far, and people are, as Jeffrey mentioned, very excited about this. We are also doing special things for Springdale. Our marketing department is in contact with the Springdale staff, Andy, and others, in terms of coordinating, what kind of special events they want to do. So they're looking at different sites within the Springdale area to come here, and once we receive the first 2 vehicles, we're going to bring them there as well, just to talk about the program, how it works, and the vehicle, et cetera, et cetera. And whatever else, Springdale things we need to do, we'll be more than happy to accommodate. Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank you again for coming in and sharing these slides. I'm a big proponent of public transportation in general, and I agree this is awesome, this public Uber idea for some of the point-to-point stuff. I noticed on the map that the root beer stand is like right on the edge of the line. So if we can make sure that that's included, that would be great. That's too far. I need a door-to-door service. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. One thing I've told people in this dais before and in the community is I've been really impressed with Metro the past few years, especially since the levy and some of the public engagement about how to reinvent Metro. I've always said that it's been impressive how responsive Metro has been, especially in this recent past, for adjusting some of the routes, the rider. Not just Metro Now is a new program, but even the changes to Tri-County Mall on our regular routes. It makes a difference for our community. So thank you for that. And being responsive is impressive, even when some comments came forward about like making sure Spanish and other languages are included and how do we reach our very diverse population. The answer has always been back as, yes, let's work on that or let's do that. So I appreciate that cooperation.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And if I may just, toot our horn a little bit, because that's important to our, the entire county, not just for SORTA. We are trying to do, the best that we can do, because the people put their trust in us through the levy. And during the COVID, we did not cut service. We kept running 100%. Actually, we added service in 2021 and last year, unlike any other transit agency. And that paid dividends. Right now, we are at least 85% of pre-COVID ridership. The rest of the nation is at 65%. FTA, the Federal Transit Administration, is paying close attention to Hamilton County, to SORTA, because of the great things that we're doing with our communities. So this is pride, for us as well as for the whole community, that they, put their trust and confidence in us. And we're just trying to, do what we were tasked with.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I know the community, we see things as new developers come in. You've spoken with Artisan Village. We see them put these things in their advertisements. It's on this route or on this. So that public transportation matters.
Yeah.
So we see it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Well, with that, we'll move into committee and official reports. First off this evening is Mr. Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Council. Civil Service Commission did meet on March the 2nd at 2 p.m. All members were present, along with Mr. Ewell and Ms. Nicole Browder. Just as an update, we looked at the building inspector hiring position, and I'm happy to say that administration has received 12 applications thus far for this position. So we're optimistic that that process will continue to go forward and that we'll have someone in mind to fill that position. The facilities maintenance position, 9 applications were received and interviews are currently underway for this position. As a matter of fact, I was at the administration yesterday and interviews were going on even then. So we're optimistic that that will continue to move forward as well. Parks maintenance worker position, hiring for this position was concluded after 11 interviews, and 11 interviews were conducted. The individual that was selected for this position was an internal candidate, Matt Thomas. And I tease him when I'm over to the rec center because there's now 3 different Matts over at the rec center. And so I call him Matt number 3. But again, he is now the individual who will be moving from the rec center, community center, to take the position of the parks maintenance position. The patrol officer position, to date, we have 15 applications, and that process is continuing as well. And the final position, the police corporal promotional process. A timeline for the police corporal promotional process was presented to the commission, and after reviewing all of the different dates and looking at the scenario, that timeline was approved as well, and that process should be moving forward without any problems there. So, and that will conclude my report. Any questions?
Don't see any.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, rules and laws, Ms. Gantos.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
All right, Finance Committee, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
All right, Planning Commission, Ms. Weisskopf.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning Commission met on March 7th, 2023 at 7 p.m. for our special meeting. Our regular meeting that was supposed to be yesterday did get canceled, so this was our only meeting this month. We had a major modification to a PUD at the old Costco for, I'm going to say it wrong, Deitch. It's Pretzel Baron, the old pretzel. So it's Deitch, and they are not going to be moving from where they currently are. They're wanting to expand it and move down to the old Costco. This was considered a major modification by both myself and Mr. Ramirez, and it did go through with a 7-0 vote. And we had no one to come speak for or against the public hearing, so it went fairly quickly. I'm really excited about this because they're gonna be making pretzel bites there. I was sad they didn't bring any samples, but I am very, very excited for the future to get more of those pretzel bites out to the public. That's really what's important. If you want to add anything or anything to say?
No, but I am also excited about that. You know, you never hate to see, or you always hate to see a business leave in just an empty building for years and years. And although we miss Costco, this is a great fit. It had to be rezoned, but the Pretzel Baron, Deitch, has been a good citizen for us over there on Northland Boulevard.
Absolutely.
They're going to do a great job looking at the plans moving over to the Costco building. So well done by Andy and the administration to get something going.
Absolutely.
All right, Ms. McNear.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will they have a walk-up retail location? Because that was promised years ago, and I'm still waiting for those fresh pretzels hot off the line.
I very much so wish, but no.
Have to push for that at the next meeting.
All right, Board of Zoning Appeals, Ms. Gantos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board of Zoning Appeals didn't meet again, so no report.
All right. Board of Health, Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board of Health met just last Thursday. It was a brief meeting. COVID numbers are still low. Just as an example, without getting too big into numbers, there were 77 cases this year in Springdale. Most of those cases are people over 50 years old, just as a kind of a benchmark to see where we're at now. The Commissioner brought up the Community Health Improvement Plan continues to be moving in progress. They hope to be completed in a few months. We still need to fill the Environmental Health Director position, so we're actively looking for that. The wing of the Health Department is being renovated as we speak, and they're relocated in the basement for now, but that should be done by May. As far as the vaccine program, only 6 COVID shots were given out, so that's just consistent with all the lower numbers, lower demand. But the Vaccine for Children program is still, I'm impressed by it. It was 95 shots were given last month, and we take it to those elementary buildings. Blood pressure screenings, there were 34 last month. And that's all we had. As I said, it was a brief meeting. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Ms. Weisskopf.
I just had a quick question. I'm super excited that the COVID numbers are going down. Did you guys have any opinion on if the numbers are going down because we don't have to report them anymore? Because like I've had COVID twice that I've never had to report. And so I didn't know because they don't count. So I didn't know if that was a big, if they've noticed that, or do we really think that we might actually be coming on the other end on this one?
The discussions didn't turn in that direction at all. We mostly talked about, in the future, 1 shot per year might be what the CDC is aiming for, or maybe a combo with flu shot. But it's a fair question. I think I'm just happy I haven't heard of any new variants in Europe or anything like that. But it is a fair question. I can certainly bring it up at the next meeting.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Capital improvements, Ms. Gantos.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
OKI, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. President. OKI did meet on March 9th for its monthly meeting. There were 2 presentations of note. One of them was a presentation from the Council on Aging, the Home 5-2 Transportation Group. If you're not familiar, this is another public transportation program, but it's geared towards primarily seniors, but also medically fragile or medical needs only. It's largely paid for by insurance companies to transport people back and forth to medical appointments. So it's high touch, in the house, into the office, and then back around. They're expanding because of demand, and we're seeing that in Springdale too. They mentioned Maple Knoll and these types of communities that use these services too. But home52.org/transportation is the website if anyone wants more information on the service that they offer, and that's part of the Utterly Services program. The other thing worth noting is there was an update for the TIP. This is money that comes to communities for projects like we just talked about. The updated TIP program is open for public comment now between this past 10th and April 12th, and it will be discussed in our in-person meeting that is also open to the public on April 4th at 4 p.m. If you want to look at the TIP, it's at tip.oki.org, and you'll see programs in there, and you'll see our name in there a few times. That's it.
All right. St. Lights, okay. Mayor's report, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was corresponding with the mayor today via email, and he said that he had nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Council Finance Director, Ms. McNear.
Thank you, Mr. President. The general fund update through February 28th, 2023 for receipts based on a net receipt budget of $24.123 million. We have received $4.149 million, which is 17%. And those major general fund receipt sources are earnings tax, real estate taxes, paramedic services, local government funds, and transient tax, which is $3.805 million, which is 92% of the budget. For the expenditures through February 28th, 2023, based on a net expenditure budget of $24.108 million, we have spent $3.125 million, which is 19% of the budget, and the general fund ending balance through February 28th, 2023 is $7.757 million. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrator's report, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Following up with Mr. Coleman, our part-time position is not civil service, but I just wanted to share the level of interest. We have a part-time administrative assistant position open. There were 96 applicants. So we hope that concluded on Friday, and we're starting the interview process on Monday. So we're back around the Shred Day event, Saturday, April 8th at 9:30 to 12:30, Springdale Community Center parking lot. It's a free citywide shred event for old documents, and Mr. Wilson wanted me to share that on behalf of Parks and Rec that they will have staff there to make sure that the truck is parked in the right location this time. It may or may not have ended up at the school. In addition, JC's Easter egg hunt, Saturday, April 8th at 12 p.m. at Ross Park, ages 10 and under. Springdale Community Center will be closed Sunday, April 9th in observance of Easter. And just want to say a big congratulations to our local ladies from Princeton High School, winning the state championship, Division I. And great news for our school district and our players, coaches, families, and the surrounding area. So what a great achievement. Thank you.
Thank you. Law Director's report, Mr. Braun.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only thing I wanted to report to council, just so it was in the record, is we're always watching for new laws the legislature passes that then go into effect sometime during the calendar year. And I will be working with Mr. Riggs and Mr. Agricola. Some changes were implemented by the legislature regarding our ability to indemnify architects, engineers, and design services here in the city. So my office is coming up with some language that will be circulating that will affect future contracts that come before you. While you probably won't notice those changes, people like Mr. Riggs will, because it limits their liability to the city on public projects. So I'll be making sure we don't run afoul of those in the new contracts that start in the month of March. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you, sir. Engineers report, Mr. Riggs.
Thank you. Beginning with the East Crescentville Road Improvements Project, the storm sewer line, installations are substantially complete and the traffic signal work is ongoing. The contractor is expected to begin the road widening on the north side on March 20th. The Northland Boulevard Reconstruction Project, we submitted stage 2 final right-of-way plans to ODOT on February 16th. The MRF funding agreement that was that was approved by council on February 15th. The signed agreement was submitted to the county on February 28th. And we're also working on a SORTA Transit Infrastructure Fund application for the Northland project, and that's going to be submitted by May 31st. And last time I mentioned the Kemper Road Northland intersection modification and potentially a shared use path along Kemper. That project is going to be a new project application. The OKI funds, the FY27 STBG fund application are due on June 2nd, and we're currently preparing a proposal to submit that application for the Kemper Road intersection realignment as well as the Kemper Road shared use path. The East Kemper Road CSX Railroad Bridge repair project, the patching work on the eastern bridge and pier cap is complete, and patching work on the western bridge piers is about 60% complete. Work on the bridge deck is expected to begin late April or early May. So right now everything's been happening underneath for the most part. It starts to take shape, at least from what you can view from the top in next month. State Route 4 urban paving. This project was rebid by Butler County Engineers Office on February 27th. Jurgensen submitted a low bid of $3.9 million roughly, and that's expected to be awarded by the Butler County Engineers Office. The State Route 747 urban paving project, ODOT held the bid opening on March 9th. We received 2 bids, and they're currently under evaluation. Actually, as this afternoon, ODOT rejected both bids. They were significantly over the engineer's estimate, I think like 40%. So we're still working with ODOT now to figure out, what can we rebid it, what changes can be made. So I'll have no more to report next month on that one. And there's 2 new projects. Sheraton Lane reconstruction. It's not a public project. It's the developers reconstructing Sheraton Lane. That work is expected to begin soon in the spring. We don't have a firm schedule yet. They're still working out some of the bonding issues, but I imagine you'll see within a month work on that street beginning. Then the Springdale Community Center HVAC replacement. That's another new project. We had a design kickoff meeting on March 8th, and we're looking to supply construction documents by April 14th. And that's all I had.
All right, thank you, sir. And the Rental Program Committee, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Rental Program Committee did meet on March 8th here at the Municipal Building. And this is where we started to turn our attention to the other areas we talked about in terms of traffic and parking. Originally it came up as around rentals, but as we talked about in previous meetings, it's really wider than that, and it's really a general issue for the community that we're addressing. We did talk about a number of issues around streets and parking, things like a bailout, enough room there. Do we need to adjust some of the parking corners and parking spaces permitted, and those types of things. Out of that, we did have some asks that the administration was looking into, especially around things like potentially changing some streets to one-way where there's highly congested areas or real parking problems, potentially doing permits or something of that nature. The reason I mention that is if you're hearing feedback from other areas in the community where there's these big parking problems outside of Heritage Hill, to let us know if we might not be aware of it, so we can include that in our discussions at our next meeting. The next meeting isn't until May 10th, and that's where we'll take up those topics again. That's it.
Okay, thanks, sir. All right, Ms. McNear, Communications.
Nothing this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
At this point, we'll open the floor for communications from the audience. Anybody in the audience like to address council? Second call. Third and final call. We'll close communications from the audience. At this point, we'll move into ordinances and resolutions. And first off this evening is ordinance number 15-2023, Ms. McNear, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 15, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance and dedication of part of Princeton Pike, part of Crescentville Road, Strategic Parkway, and Crossings Court, and other public improvements associated with the Springdale Commerce Park. Where streets, including Strategic Parkway and Crossings Court, and other associated public improvements have been constructed as part of the creation and development of Springdale Commerce Park. Whereas the public improvements have been reviewed by the city engineer and are now complete and ready to be transferred and accepted by the city of Springdale, the city. Whereas the city previously accepted such improvements pursuant to ordinance number 7, 2022, original ordinance, which was recorded in official record book 14838, page 1159 of the Hamilton County, Ohio Recorder's Office records. And whereas the original ordinance required additional information to complete the transfer of ownership of such public improvements. Now therefore be it ordained by the council of the city of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that the city of Springdale, city council finds that the dedication to public use of either the fee simple ownership of easements in part of Princeton Pike, part of Crescentville Road, Strategic Parkway, and Crossings Court, such roads being more particularly described on Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated herein, and other public improvements as set forth in the Springdale Commerce Park plat, recorded in Plat Book 482, page 56 to 66. Other records are hereby accepted by the city. Section 2, council hereby authorizes the mayor to execute any and all documents required in furtherance of such acceptance and dedication of the road and other public improvements by the city as detailed in the attached document. Section 3, council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all actions, deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
All right, council, have heard the reading of ordinance 15, 2023. This is a second reading and can be enacted upon this evening. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt. Second.
Motion second, discussion? All right, seeing no lights, Ms. McNear, poll council.
Mrs. Sullivan Weiscup?
Aye.
Mrs. Gantos? Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Ramirez?
Aye.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye. Ordinance number 15, 2023 passes with 7 affirmative votes. And next up is ordinance number 16, 2023. Ms. McNear, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 16, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the sale, disposal, or transfer of personal property from the city of Springdale. Whereas the city of Springdale, the city seeks to sell, dispose, or transfer certain items of personal property for which it no longer has any municipal purpose and finds that it is not useful as such, absolutely or temporarily. Now therefore be it ordained by the council of the city of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that the council of the city of Springdale, council finds that the items of personal property identified in the attached Exhibit A have no municipal purpose and find that they are not useful as such, absolutely or temporarily, and it authorizes the sale, auction, disposal, salvage, or transfer of the items. Section 2, that this council finds and hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
All right, council, have heard the reading of ordinance number 16, 2023. This is the first reading. We will see it again at our next meeting. Is there any discussion this evening? Mr. Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick question, I ask this every year, but majority of these items go to gov deals. Any other sources for these properties?
At this time, I don't believe we have any other nonprofits or whatnot who are interested, but it is definitely something that we would make available if we see something or know of a need to another group or another law enforcement agency or another public works department. We would definitely be required to declare it surplus and then can transfer it over.
Would you transfer or sell it to these other individuals?
It depends. Depends on the dollar value. Some of the items, a lot of the items here are outdated or no longer operable, so it would just depend on the item specifically.
And the proceeds go to the general fund?
Everything would go to the general fund, correct?
Thank
All right. Next up, we have ordinance number 17, 2023. This does include an emergency clause and can be enacted upon this evening. Ms. McNear, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 17, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and clerk of council, finance director, to enter into an agreement with Office Furniture Source for the purchase of workstations and accessories for the building department and declaring an emergency. Whereas the state of Ohio has advertised and received bids for the purchase of workstations and accessories, and whereas Office Furniture Source was determined to be the best bidder with a price of $78,948.78 for the purchase of workstations and accessories. Now therefore be it ordained by the council of the city of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that the city of Springdale accepts the state's specifications and agrees that Office Furniture Source is the best bidder for the purchase. Section 2, that the mayor and clerk of council, finance director are hereby authorized to enter into an agreement with Office Furniture Source for the purchase of workstations and accessories for use by the city of Springdale Building Department. Section 3, that the clerk of council, finance director is hereby authorized to pay Office Furniture Source a sum not to exceed $78,948.78 for said workstations and accessories. Section 4, that this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, safety, and general welfare, and shall be effective immediately upon its passage. The reason for said declaration of emergency is the need to execute the contract prior to the expiration of the bid price.
All right, council, I've heard the reading of ordinance 17, 2023. What is your pleasure? Motion second. Discussion? Mr. Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, are we able to trade in the old furniture, or will it go on under the unusable for resale?
Mr. Yule?
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish we could trade it in against the purchase of the new. However, a lot of the desk furniture in both building and health departments were from the old building. So they are over probably 40 years old. We did have a vendor come in to look at items 2 years ago when administration did the same remodel. And they said if it wasn't purchased within the last probably 5 or 6 years, they wouldn't have any resale value to trade it against. So we did try that avenue, and unfortunately we came up a couple years shy.
A good idea. But in my past work experience, we would take things in on trade just so they wouldn't have to deal with that subject. Which you're allowed to trade in government items that are paid for with government money. And that way it alleviates us from throwing it away or having to mess with it later on. Just make them take it, and whether you get money for it or not.
Right. This is all part of the ordinance to go to Gov Deals as well. So we had, I forget what ended up the result of the furniture from the administrative wing, but there was a lot of, it sat for a while before someone bid on it, but.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jacobs?
Thank you. I was wondering if, do we have an approximate number of how many workstations this will get the city?
This will outfit, I do, everything's broken up on the quote, so give me just a second, but there'll be a total of, this will outfit 3 offices and 10 workstations, and which will include the administrative assistants. It'll also include spaces for Mr. Riggs if he were to come in for staff meetings. Mrs. McBride as well gives her workstation as well to for those visiting people who come in for staff meetings and whatnot, that may be doing plan review and whatnot. There's also some furniture in there for like a conference table, conference room, and then a collective area. So the total will be a couple offices and then I think about 10 workstations to include the administrative assistants out front.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, Ms. McNear, poll council.
Mrs. Gantos? Aye. Mrs. Sullivan Weiscup?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Ramirez?
Aye.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye. Ordinance number 17, 2023 passes with 7 affirmative votes. Next up is ordinance number 18, 2023. This is the first reading. Ms. McNear, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 18, 2023, an ordinance approving a major modification to the Costco Plan Unit Development for the property located at 1100 East Kemper Road. Whereas the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, Council has previously approved the Costco Plan Unit Development PUD, and whereas the applicant has submitted an application for a major modification to the Costco PUD located at 1100 East Kemper Road, allowing for a modification to be made by Dish USA LLC to convert the property from retail space to add commercial operations for food processing and production related to its pretzel business. And whereas at its meeting of March 7th, 2023, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the proposed major modification. And whereas a public hearing was held by council on April to be determined 2023 pursuant to the requirements of the zoning code. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, the major modification to the Costco PUD associated with the modification of the property at 1100 East Kemper Road to add commercial operations for food processing and production to the current retail use, which has been reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission in accordance with the attached Exhibit A, which is incorporated herein by reference, is hereby approved, subject to the conditions of the Planning Commission, including A, staff, city engineer, and city planner's recommendations and considerations contained in their reports. As a PUD, this shall include staff, law director, and city approvals of covenants as necessary. B, all other zoning regulations and conditions shall remain in effect. C, final date development plan which shall be reviewed at a later date. Section 2, that this council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3, that the Clerk of Council Finance Director is hereby authorized and directed to notify the applicant of council's action. Section 4, that this ordinance shall be effective from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
All right, council, this is the first reading. We will have the second reading and a public hearing at our next meeting. Is there any discussion this evening? Ms. Gantes?
Thank you, Mr. President. Was there any discussion of how many jobs will be created?
Okay.
That wasn't discussed.
Sorry. All he said was that this would create jobs. He said it was going to be creating jobs, but I don't think, did they give us a specific number? I know that they were talking about it, but he didn't, I don't remember this last time if he said anything specific.
Mr. Yule?
Thank you, Mr. President. I can't recall if that was an internal conversation that we had with them about the business incentive program, or if that was a planning commission, but they do intend to create several hundred jobs, which will be phased in. And I think between the two sites in total, they hope to have about 500 total jobs. So they are obviously want to get the property on the Costco site to begin, and then expand their production lines exponentially. When they fill that space, they intend to expand their existing site on Northland Boulevard and add additional jobs to that site as well. So I think all told is somewhere around the 420 to maybe 550 mark in total.
On a side note, the owner of a lot of the property around the Costco facility, I don't remember his name. He owns like the Kroger facility property over there near the race carts and stuff. He was in favor of the change. He thought it might help his business in a long way.
All right. Next up, we have Resolution R5, 2023. Ms. McNear, when you're ready.
Resolution number R5, 2023, a resolution strongly urging the Ohio Governor and members of the Ohio General Assembly to restore the local government fund to pre-recession levels. Whereas the local government fund was reduced in 2011 by 50% during the Governor Kasich's administration from 3.68% of general revenue funds to its current level of 1.66% of general revenue funds. And whereas past Ohio General Assemblies have repeatedly decreased funding and revenue sharing in recent years, in addition to significantly reducing the local government funding, including eliminating the estate tax and phasing out the tangible personal property tax. And whereas the reduction in the local government fund has resulted in an average loss of revenue of $244,295 each year since 2012 for the city of Springdale. And whereas this sudden revenue loss has made it increasingly difficult to provide basic services, rebuild infrastructure, and bolster public safety services. And whereas when municipalities experience such success in fostering safe communities, building sound infrastructure, and increasing economic development, the state of Ohio reaps the benefits as well. And whereas a reinvestment in the local government fund would aid in the state in its goal of lowering taxes on the individual by enabling municipalities to decrease the local tax burden. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that the Council for the City of Springdale Council strongly urges the Ohio Governor and members of the Ohio General Assembly to restore the local government fund to pre-recession levels, ensuring that local communities are able to provide crucial services and improvements in infrastructure and public safety. Section 2, that this council does hereby declare its opposition to any further cuts to the local government fund or the future diversion of revenues from the local government fund. Section 3, that it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of council concerning and relating to the passage of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22. Section 4, that this resolution shall be effective from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
All right, council have heard the reading of Resolution R5 2023. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Let's rush.
Everybody can't be first.
Yeah. Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say that I think this is a very timely resolution to come before us. For those that aren't tracking what's going on at the State House, House Bill 1 was recently introduced, which is calling for a flat tax for Ohio, and you can debate the merits there separately. But one of the findings of that analysis for the current House Bill 1 is not just not increasing or restoring the Ohio local government funds, but actually is expected to reduce the local government funds by $43 million a year. Additionally, it would also cut library funds, because it uses the same metric, by $43 million a year. That's not responsible. So what else is interesting, at least in the reporting I saw for House Bill 1, is the committee members that are advancing that bill to reduce it did highlight the local government fund as being a possible inadvertent casualty of that proposal, but they were actively looking for feedback from the community and cities about what that would mean to them. So us saying this to them now isn't just yelling into the wind. They're asking for this feedback, and we're saying not just don't cut it, but we want it restored, and I think that's important for people to see and hear. And it should probably come not just from the council, but as anybody else that is a proponent of local government, and also libraries should be speaking up and not just having it be this one resolution. Thank you.
All right, done saying more lines. Ms. McGeary, poll council.
Mrs. Sullivan Weisskopf?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos? Aye. Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Ramirez?
Aye.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye. Resolution R5 2023 is passed with 7 affirmative votes. And at this point, we're through ordinances and resolutions. We're in old business. Is there any old business to bring before council this evening? New business? Mr. Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if this is the right timing for this, but have we discussed the coyote population and our future endeavors as it relates to removal of these or containment of them? Reason I'm bringing this up, Fairfield just had their second meeting on this, and since we abut to Fairfield, I wanted to make sure they weren't just shooing them off down here to Springdale. So I don't know if we have plans intact, if we capture them, what we do with them, what somebody does if they see them and they call up, what happens.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mr. President. Currently, just being a good neighbor, we chase them back. We think that's fair. We do not have anything in place at this time for coyotes. I have spoken to our health commissioner about this subject. In fact, he brought it to my attention a week or so ago. We do not have anything in place at this time, and we'll continue to monitor it. And And he said that the complaints that he's heard are really low. He's not really having the complaints here in our community, but that's something that we'll continue to keep an eye on.
Any casualties with pets that we know of?
I'm sorry?
Casualties with people losing their pets?
None that I've heard.
Last year, I heard about a couple of dogs.
Yeah,
But this year, I've heard of a lot of sightings in our neighborhood.
yeah. There's been a lot of sighting.
Casualty or loss of pets.
I thought maybe we'd just keep it on the radar and,
We should, things have been.
yeah, okay.
Ms. Weisskopf?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's always been a thing. Like, I've seen it, people say stuff or put it on social media or just whatever. Coyotes have always been a problem. They live outside. And as we knock down forests and any kind of place that they live where we're not, they're going to come closer and closer to our houses. Where I live and where Ms. Gantos lives, there's a creek and little woods area that go through there. On a regular basis, if you're in my backyard during the winter, you could see them running down the creek. So, there have been small animals lost, cats, dogs, whatever, through the years, but I haven't heard any like anything more than what I've heard in the past.
Mr. Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. It probably is important to note if we're seeing them in places where we haven't before. And, depending on where you live, there's it's a natural thing where I live that coyotes come in off the preserve and off the golf course. And so, literally when the kids were little, they had to come in at dusk because they were brazen enough to just come down. And they were the biggest coyotes because they're eating geese and deer and whatever off the preserve. So they're not like the typical ones you see out in the country where they're thin. These are huge, huge animals. But folks should, I don't know if it makes sense for folks to call into the health department if they're seeing something new or different, but it makes sense to monitor if you're seeing something unusual in terms of numbers or location.
Ms. McNair?
Thank you, Mr. President. Coyotes are in every county in the state of Ohio, so it's not an unusual thing. I have seen them during the day just out walking, 10:30 in the morning. I have seen them out. They didn't approach, they didn't do anything other than, try to scurry away, but I know some of them can be very bold. Word of the wise, don't leave your pets outside, don't leave your garbage outside, because they're looking for an easy meal. So, word of caution, don't leave those things out. Don't leave your little children outside. I'm not saying that in jest, but, they can be, dangerous animals. Don't leave your pet food outside because they will jump fences to get food. So just, be cautious. We're not going to obliterate them. They are everywhere. Just like, can't get rid of the squirrels either. They're everywhere. Not that the squirrels are going to hurt us, but, you're not going to get rid of those. We have deer everywhere also. They're just everywhere. Same thing with the skunks. We have skunks everywhere. You can get a trap. We're not going to trap the coyotes. We don't have traps big enough for those, but just be cautious, especially early in the morning, late at night. You will hear them howling at night. I hear them all the time, so just be cautious. Thank you.
Ms. McNair brought up a good point. Last week, a couple weeks ago, there was an article talking about this, and if you feed animals outside, bring it in, don't leave it out at night. And that's not just for coyotes, that even brings some of our smellier critters in there too. And something I had not thought of, but after they pointed it out, it did make sense. Bird feeders is to pull them in because coyotes are omnivores. They're creatures of opportunity, but also the seed will bring mice and small creatures during the night in. So they're there. There's not much else. You can just be cautious and use a little common sense. But an adult coyote, at least around here, they're saying is running somewhere in 100+ pounds. So it's not just, you know, it's not Wiley, who's, you know, skin and bones. These guys are well fed and they're sizable creatures. So. All right, still in new business. Any other new business? Mr. Anderson?
Oh, sorry, I actually had old business. I just wanted to say, I know last meeting, we had a resident come in to talk about a gas leak. I don't know if everyone saw that was addressed a few days later. Duke did come out and correct the leaky valve. I know Mr. Agricola in Public Works helped escalate that issue, so I just want to recognize that and say thank you. The residents over there appreciate being able to access the park without fear of blowing up. So thank you.
Mr. Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a comment for administration. I see our new property maintenance workers around the neighborhood, and they're very active. And we met one of them, the one that does our neighborhood. A very nice guy, and I think he's doing good with what he's doing and not really aggravating the customers. Just try to get people back into compliance. So anyway, it's a positive comment with the workers that are coming around the neighborhood, and it's a welcome sight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, meetings and announcements. Ms. Weisskopf.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning Commission will meet in these chambers on April 11th at 7 p.m.
All right, don't see more lights. At this point, we'll go back to the floor for communications from the audience. Anybody in the audience like to address council for any reason? Second call. Third and final call. We'll close communications from the audience. Mr. Hawkins, we'll go to you for an update on legislation still in development.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you review your internal memorandums, item number 1 was addressed with ordinance number 15, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance and dedication of part of the Princeton Pike, part of Crescentville Road, Strategic Parkway, and Crossings Court, and other public improvements associated with the Springdale Commerce Park, and that passed the 7-0 vote. Item number 2 was addressed with ordinance number 17, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of workstations and accessories for the building department and declaring an emergency, and that passed the 7-0 vote. Item number 3 was addressed with resolution R5, 2023, a resolution strongly urging the Ohio governor and members of the Ohio General Assembly to restore the local government fund to pre-recession levels, and that passed the 7-0 vote. Item number 4 was addressed with ordinance number 16, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the sale, disposal, or transfer of personal property from the city of Springdale, and that was a first reading. And item number 5 was addressed with ordinance number 18, 2023, an ordinance approving a major modification to the Costco Plan Unit development for the property located at 1100 East Kemper Road, and that was a first reading.
And staying with Mr. Hawkins, recap the legislative items requested for next council meeting.
There will be a second reading of ordinance number 16, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the sale, disposal, or transfer of personal property from the city of Springdale. There will also be a second reading and public hearing for ordinance number 18, 2023, an ordinance approving a major modification to the Costco PUD for the property located at 1100 East Kemper Road. That's it, unless there's anything else from council or the administration.
Mr. Braun.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, we're also bringing to you some revisions to stormwater regulations that the Public Works Department has been working on, so we will have those to you.
Very good. Everything else, administration? All right, council, we have item 17 before us.
Move to adjourn.
Council's adjourned.